Hi, Rama. It's week 38, day 5 of our Bible narrative reading plan. Today we are in Luke chapter 7. Luke chapter 7 finds Jesus going to Capernaum. Again, we've seen him there in and out of Capernaum many times in his ministry. But after he's finished the sayings that you see earlier in Luke chapter 6, it says that he enters Capernaum. Now there's a centurion, a Roman soldier, one who has authority, a higher ranking Roman soldier, but he's a Gentile. He has a servant who's sick at the point of death, but the centurion thinks very highly of him. He values him, the text says. And so word gets to Jesus. The centurion talks to Jesus about him, about this servant. The man says, look, I'm a Gentile. I'm unworthy. I'm unclean. I don't even need you to come to my house, but I know that you have the authority to do this. You see, I too am a man under authority, and I know that if you just say the word, my servant will be healed. Well, what is Jesus' response to this? He says, I have not found faith like this in Israel. Remember who he's talking to. He's talking to a Gentile, an outsider, someone who should not be part of the promises of God, but yet he recognizes the authority that Jesus has, whereas so many of the Jewish people up to this point have looked at him and they have failed to see that authority in Jesus. And so Jesus commends this man for his faith, and they find that just as Jesus said, this man's servant was well. So he has control over disease, but more than that, Jesus has control over death. You see in the second section of today's reading that Jesus goes to a town called Nain, that's nearby Nazareth, and he goes in and he sees that a mother has lost her son. Now, he's a grown man, but we recognize that she is a widow, and so she's relying on her son to care for her, but now he's died. So she's grieving, as you would expect, that she has no one to care for her. This is bad news in our society. It's tragedy. It's catastrophic in that society. She needed someone to care for her and provide for her, and now her son has died. So Jesus sees him being carried out on this funeral bier. It's basically, think of a big piece of plywood or an open coffin. It's not a fancy coffin. He's just laid out on a board, and he's being taken away. And so Jesus stops them. They stand still. And he tells them not to weep, which means, hey, I'm about to act. I'm about to do something. And he speaks to the dead man and says, young man, I say to you, arise. And the man gets up. He arises just as Jesus said, and Jesus, it says, gave him to his mother. He restores. He makes things as they should be. He is now alive, able to care for his mother. And what does the text say? Fear seized them all, and they glorified God, saying, a great prophet has risen among us, and God has visited his people. They're beginning to get it, but they don't fully understand. As we see through the Gospels, that's common. But these people, like the centurion that's recognized that Jesus has the authority to do this, these people realize that a prophet has arisen, and we've got to keep going to see, do they recognize that Jesus not only has the power over disease, he has power over death. He reverses death, and so he truly is the Son of God. Here's a summary of today's reading. For more information, go to tunemyheart.org.